An ex-Marine has launched an edible crayon business. Divers steal beer being aged by a sunken ship. And a mother says a Catholic school expelled all of her children because of her OnlyFans account. These are the weird stories for Monday on Weird AF News, the only daily weird news podcast hosted by a comedian. I'm saying it. Yes, I say it all the time. All the time. Thanks for being here. Do you guys like to eat crayons? Well, now you can do so safely. A Marine is launching an edible crayon business. An ex-Marine, apparently. His name's Frank. Frank tells a story at the beginning of this article about how one time he was finishing up a work project and he was using a crayon, which is something that Marines usually do, apparently. They use crayons. I had no idea. Well, he absentmindedly put a crayon in his mouth for safekeeping. Before he knew it, he was doing what Marines do best, chomping on crayons. This is what Frank claims. Now, I'm not a Marine. I don't know if this is true. Frank says it is. When Frank realized the stereotype that he was fulfilling, his next thought was, is there something to this? And thus, Crayons Ready to Eat was born. This is Frank's business. Here's a quote from Frank. I know I've eaten crayons before when I was a kid, and now Marines are being called crayon eaters. I started researching, figured out that if we're going to make these crayons truly edible, they've got to be made out of one thing and one thing only. Chocolate. It was my mission. So, any Marines out there that listen to Weird AF News? Wow, are you guys really called crayon eaters? I find this hard to believe. You guys would do such a dumb thing. Although maybe this is where you get your powers from, eating crayons. I want to say I did not eat crayons as a child. I do remember swallowing a lot of gum. That was bad. I would chew my gum and then eat it. That was just a bad habit. I probably did that for a few years. No wonder why I'm all backed up. Hey. Okay, so cut back to Frank. Frank didn't know anything about baking, but he's got a friend named Cassandra who happens to be a pastry chef. The two paired up together and they went into business making edible crayons that also draw. And they're based out of San Diego. They make them in their homes. Frank here gives us a history of Marines eating crayons, which this is just weird. Frank says that when he served in the Marines from 1995 to 2002, Marines were not called crayon eaters. And while there seems to be no clear origin story for the Marines eating crayons legend, Frank acknowledges that Marines have been known to do some weird, stupid things. What kind of weird, stupid things you Marines doing? Spending all your money on Mustangs? What are you doing? As such, all good jokes are worth embracing, as the memes about Marines chowing down on crayons are a mainstay of the military culture. Frank saw an opportunity. Before long, Frank and Cassandra were including stereotypes about other branches by way of their crayon palette, one that now includes squid blue, flyboy yellow, jarhead red, dogface green, and puddle pirate orange. Oh, they're giving you the names of these crayons. They have marine motifs. These novelty coloring utensils also come wrapped in packaging designed to look just like MREs, bringing to bear the ultimate sense of nostalgia for anyone who served in the Marines. Well, this is all fun and nice and weird. I'm just worried that the children are going to think it's okay to munch on crayons. This is what worries me. Guys, it's the children that always concern me. What about the children, guys? I mean, kids put everything in their mouth, right? I'm not a parent, but I got to imagine it's a full-time job just keeping stuff out of kids' mouths. That's just a full-time job. You hire like a babysitter and you also hire like a mouth goalkeeper for your kids. Am I right? Or are you guys the mouth goalkeeper? You're just like, don't put that in your mouth. Do not put that in your mouth. Man, I just don't have the patience to be around tiny humans that want to put everything in their mouth. I don't know, guys. I don't know how you do it. Divers steal beer being aged by a sunken ship off Argentina. This title just really grabbed me. I didn't know that you could age beer by a sunken ship. But what do I know about making beer? I just go to the store and buy it. A team of divers in Argentina has stolen over 700 liters or 185 gallons of artisanal beer that had been left by 3 local breweries to age, attached to a sunken ship on the ocean floor. This is a lot of effort to age your beer. I mean, really attach it to a sunken ship on the ocean floor? Why all the effort? I don't get it. Does it make the beer taste better? I mean, it certainly is cooler to drink beer that was aged attached to a sunken ship. Be like, dude, where'd you get your beer? Oh, man, well, where was your beer aged, rather, sir, in the story? Oh, mine was, I don't know, barrels in a basement. What about yours? Yeah, well, mine was aged, attached to a sunken pirate ship off the coast of Argentina. Yeah, pretty cool. The owners of these 3 breweries in Mar del Plata, which had teamed up with a diving school for what they described as a first-of-its-kind, months-long experiment in deep water beer making, were left pretty mystified and heartbroken upon discovering that the barrels were all gone. Well, you're stupid. You deserve your barrels to be gone, you dummies. Experimenting in deep water beer making. Are you okay? Well, we can't believe we just left the beer out in the ocean and someone took it. I don't understand how they got it, what they did. I mean, who would just take beer that's just left in the ocean? I'll tell you, people who like beer. Beer is not cheap, all right? Nice beer, artisanal beer, the kind of which you're aging, it's probably pretty pricey. And so, of course, they're going to take your beer. You just leave it out there? Got to get a team of lobsters to guard that shit, man. What's wrong with you? Carlos Breles, who runs the diving school, is quoted as saying, I started crying. 3 or 4 people without morals destroyed the work of so many people who put in so much effort in this beer. Carlos, yeah, but, you know, you left the beer unguarded in the middle of the ocean. What did you expect? I would be willing to try some beer that's aged attached to a sunken pirate ship with the hopes that it would taste better than regular beer aged the traditional way. I have a feeling no. I have a feeling it's not going to taste any better. That's just me. This seems like just a project for bored divers at a diving school. That's what it seems like. Maybe nobody's hiring the diving. No one's really going for diving lessons these days because of COVID, and so they're like, we got to do something. I don't know. What can we do at the bottom of the ocean? I don't know, man. We could have jiu-jitsu classes at the bottom of the ocean. No, I don't like that at all. I don't like that at all. What about brewing beer? I guess we could try it at the bottom of the ocean. Mr. Breles, who owns the diving school and who cried about the missing beer. Mr. Breles and the brewery owners say they have no clues that could shed light on the disappearance of the barrels, but they haven't ruled out an act of sabotage. And yeah, someone sabotaged your beer, bro. Dude, if you leave cool shit out in the world and you don't lock it up, people take your cool shit. You could have put anything there. I mean, what did you think was going to happen? They're asking the prosecutors to open up a criminal investigation. Well, good luck. Mr. Breles had read news reports about beer that had been aged underwater in other countries, and he pitched the idea back in 2018 to a friend, one of the owners of Heller Brewery. And as the notion spread among beer enthusiasts in the area, several of them took to the idea. But they had a twist. Previous beer-making underwater experiments involved shallow depths, so they wanted to test beers made under greater pressure. They spent months securing permits to affix these barrels to the chronometer, an abandoned Soviet-era ship 66 feet underwater that sank in 2014 and become a favorite spot of recreational divers. All right, so maybe beer brewed under more pressure makes it taste better? Man, see, I don't know enough about the science of beer making to know whether or not if you brew it 66 feet underwater that it's going to be better than beer that's brewed, say, on land or at 10 feet in the water. Well, they went and got permits. It took them a year to do so. The coronavirus quarantine slowed down everything. Oh, man, everything's... The hoops they jumped through to brew barrels. Well, here's the other thing. You're putting them down, it sounds like, in a vessel that's already frequently dived upon. So, I mean, just random divers are going to find your beer, bro. I mean, you should have did it on a sunken ship that's just not really easily accessible. Or brew it in space, dude. Just put it up. What happens if you brew beer on the moon? Does that taste any better? I know nothing about it. Someone want to clue me in on the appeal of brewing beer in these weird places? I just don't get it. But, you know, What am I? I know nothing about science. I know stupid. That I know. I mean, if you host a weird podcast for over 3.5 years, you can recognize stupid a mile away. This was stupid.
You like podcasts? You're listening to my podcast. Maybe you thought to yourself, I'd like to make a podcast. Too difficult. No, not with Anchor. Anchor has free creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast from your phone or your computer. Anchor distributes your podcast to Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, and more. They have advertising integration, so you can even make a little money off your podcast. Everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. And good luck with your podcast. Good luck with your creation. Good luck with your life, man.
A mother says a Catholic school expelled her kids because of her OnlyFans account. A Sacramento mom says her 3 young children were expelled from a Catholic school because she sells sexy videos online using her OnlyFans account. Are you guys hip to the OnlyFans account? Some of you may not have heard of OnlyFans. It's sort of a way for you to sell your fans extra content, or by subscription, give your fans access to extra content. I guess kind of like my Patreon. But OnlyFans has a reputation of being more like, women selling pictures that are salacious. But it's not just that. I know comedians and other artists who use it because you can kind of use it like a Patreon. Like, hey, go to my OnlyFans. I released a new song, but only my OnlyFans can get it. That kind of thing. Well, this mother's apparently selling sexy videos online. I don't know how the school found out about this. The principal at Sacramento's Sacred Heart Parish School says the family's no longer welcome and they can't even pick up their things left in class. What? That doesn't seem right. First of all, not welcoming the family anymore. That's pretty draconian. Not allowing them to pick up their things. That's just being a jerk at this point. Crystal Jackson is the mother. She says she and her husband take her hot mom persona and they turn it into a profit. Okay, what's wrong with that? It's hard to make ends meet these days, and OnlyFans allows you to make some money from home so you're safe. Okay. This started with a post on Reddit as a way to spice up her relationship with her husband, Chris, she says. Someone suggested, hey, why don't you start an OnlyFans? She didn't know what it was at the time, but now more than a year later, she's known as Mrs. Poindexter. And she's making up to $150,000 a month selling access to photos and videos on her OnlyFans account. Some of the photos include nudity. 150 grand, though. I mean, that seems worth it. And, take your kid, put your kids in another private school. I mean, you can afford any school you want, Mrs. Poindexter. Just take them out of Catholic school. You don't need that anyways, all right? Catholic school just makes them so damn rigid. It's ridiculous. It says here, not everyone is a fan of her OnlyFans. She said, now, we kind of got caught. This was our secret life, and it got exposed, and my children have paid the price. Mrs. Jackson says last summer, a group of mothers found her site, started a campaign to get her 3 kids kicked out of the Sacred Heart Parish, a Catholic elementary school. Wow, these mothers, man. Get a life. Really. Get a life, mothers. You got nothing better to do than to snoop around this person's account and then get her kids kicked out. Her OnlyFans has nothing to do with whether or not she's a good mother or not. Now, granted, maybe it's not upholding some Catholic values, but that's the mother. That has nothing to do with the kids. Allow the kids to get a Catholic education. Wouldn't you want that? In your mind, shouldn't you be like, oh man, these kids need some Catholic values, some Christian values to help them, because clearly the mother doesn't. I mean, that's probably what they're thinking, Why wouldn't they let the kids stay in the school? I mean, this is just awful. People just getting into other people's business. Get a life, bro. Really. At one point, it says here, the group of mothers sent anonymous envelopes, including her explicit content, to the school principal and the diocese. Oh, I mean, this is just awful. Mrs. Jackson says, they wanted my kids removed who are innocent to this whole thing. Yeah, she's right. Your kids are innocent. It's a damn shame that they have to be punished. Although, I'm going to be honest with you. They're probably going to have a better time not in a Catholic school. It's just my opinion. There was an email sent to Mrs. Jackson at the end of all this when they asked them to Please find another school. It says, we therefore require that you find another school for your children and have no further association with ours. The email was signed by the school principal, Teresa Sparks. The school would not comment on the story. Mom says she will continue to post on her OnlyFans. Of course she will. She's making $150,000 a month. Says the family is applying to send their kids to another Catholic school, but worries that they may be blackballed from the diocese in Sacramento entirely. Yeah, just send your kids to a cooler private school, man. You can afford whatever you want. Send them to one of those progressive private schools, that let the kids, I don't know, instead of going to class, they make a podcast. I don't know. There's schools that have them do cool shit instead of sit in a classroom. And memorize and then spit out information. Here's information. Memorize it and then spit it out. Memorize it and then spit it out, which is really old school, archaic ways of learning. It just doesn't foster critical thinking or inventiveness. It's just you're kind of acting like a robot at that point. Just eat this, spit it out. We want our future generations to think critically and to be more dynamic with their brains. So there are private schools for kids that help nurture those kinds of ways of learning and thinking. So send them there. Pretty soon your kids will have an OnlyFans account. Kidding, guys, kidding. But let me ask before I go, what is your opinion? Should they have expelled this mom from the Catholic school? Do you think it's a big deal that the mother does this, but the kids go to the school? Should the kids be punished for what the mother is doing? And what about those moms? Hey, call the show 646-450-2012. I want to hear from some moms. Cause if it isn't news, why do I feel this way? New edition, everybody. Come on, Boston represent. I got a nice review, by the way. But first I want to say I hope you had a nice weekend, guys. I hope you enjoyed the Florida Friday stories. Thanks for sending me stories. A lot of you have been submitting through the website, weirdafnews.com, just dropping me stories. Thank you so much. Please use that. Or you can email me, funnyjones@gmail.com. I got a nice 5-star review on Apple Podcasts by somebody in the United Kingdom named Sufi Boy. Sufi Boy gave me 5 stars and wrote, hilarious. I only discovered this in the most recent lockdown. Florida Friday has to be my favorite. Well, thank you, Sufi Boy. I'm glad I could introduce you to the weird world of Florida over there. By the way, spelled favorite with a U, as a typical UK citizen would do. Guys, drop the U, all right? It's just too much effort. You don't need that. Get with it, okay? Adding U's to things still? In 2021, adding U's? Get it together. And by the way, it's not a boot, it's a trunk. Come on. A boot you wear on your feet. Let me see here. Oh, also, let me see here. Oh, yes, Patreon. Sorry, guys. ADHD guys, just trying to roll with it. I got a new Patreon named Mary Bartel. Mary joined the Patreon, and I'm so grateful. Mary joined over the weekend. Thank you so much, Mary, for joining the Patreon. Please enjoy the extra content. Mary, why you bugging? Please enjoy the content of my Patreon. Yeah, you get a song, Mary, for joining the Patreon over the weekend. The only person to join the Patreon over the weekend was Mary. So big shout out to Mary. I don't know where you are, Mary, but I hope you're safe. And I hope you're going to dig into the Patreon and get some of that sweet ass weird extra content, guys. I'm going to be posting some articles actually tomorrow in there as well. Just, sometimes I come across stuff that's like visually weird, and I can't really do a podcast about it. I'll throw it in the Patreon because this is just more of a audio, medium, as they say. So I use the Patreon for that kind of shit. A cool video, bam, Patreon. Weird video, Patreon. Weird, meme goes in the Patreon. And I should be recording a bonus episode pretty soon. I'm waiting for my buddy Dave to get settled. He just moved, and then we're going to record a bonus episode. So you'll get a bonus episode as well soon. I promise, guys. I promise. I know you're wondering, how do I join the Patreon like Mary Bartel? Oh, super easy. Go to patreon.com/weirdafnews and get in, man. I got a nice little crew in there. I post stuff. We chat about it. It's fun. It's nice. You learn something about me. Sometimes I share personal stuff in there. And sometimes the patrons share personal stuff in there. And so we all get to know each other, which is lovely. So patreon.com/weirdafnews or go to weirdafnews.com. You can join it there. I left the number, so if you want to give a response to any of the stories, please call the show. And lastly, you can follow me on the Instagram at Funny Jones. So check that out. And thanks again for being here. I appreciate it, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Hey there, Jonesy. Some of the podcast episodes are really neat, and I have to say that I love your podcast. It's just amazing. The wonderful stories that you have for us each week are wonderful, and you really put a lot of effort into them. I especially love certain ones, like the priest episode that you just put out. Just really fascinating. I've been listening to the podcast for about 5 or 6 months now, and it's just something that I look forward to each day. So, thank you, Jonesy, and God bless.
Jonesy, on the weird news, right on, right on. I got a nut allergy too. It's called WTF, Florida. Can't get a nut. I think they were higher than we expected, Dr. Penis.